I've thought about Alpha a lot over the years, but I don't know whether you know, I'm a retired policeman, and I worked in the service for 30 years in Devon and Cornwall. And I suppose back in those days, we worked hard and we played hard. And I worked as a career detective. I spent a lot of years working away from home in London and away from my family as well. And there was very little time to get involved, although I've always had those nagging questions going through my head, the same as a lot of people have probably, about what are we doing here? Isn't there something more to this than just existing? The other thing, I suppose, is that during those years in the police service, back a lot of years ago now, I think being part of what they called the God Squad was probably seen as a weakness to some degree. You couldn't really afford to be out of the ordinary. You had to fit in. You had to be one of the boys, and that sort of made me think twice about following those questions that I had. Whether or not I would have had the time at that stage, I don't know. And in addition to that, there have been times during my life when, we've all gone through times when we've had really difficult situations to deal with. And I've seen, as part of my career, firsthand, things that humans can do to other humans which beg a belief, And I've always wondered how on earth, if there was an all-powerful God, how on earth that could be, he could allow those sorts of things to happen. So it was difficult when I was working. When I retired, I suppose I started to have a little bit more time on my hands and started to question a little bit more and started to think about the important things. And my wife, Naomi, has always been a Christian for as long as I've known her, certainly, and many years before then. And as I mentioned earlier, my two daughters had both started to follow that journey as well whilst they were away at university, and I suppose I had a bit of a fear of missing out. And that coincided with us moving to Bude. While we were living in another part of Cornwall, we weren't really associated with the church at all. Never really had the opportunity, and when we came to Bude, Hattie was the first one to find Oceans and told her mum about how good it was, and Naomi started coming along as well. And since then we've made lots of good friends through the church, through our people that we meet through the church, and that's been absolutely fantastic. And I think because of all of that, I've started to look a little bit more closely and be more aware of things that are going on around me. And it's made me want to find out a little bit more. And then Naomi came home one day and said that Alpha Cornwall were running an online Alpha. And I thought now would be a good time to perhaps try it and see where it takes me. I started to realise that, in actual fact, there aren't answers to some of the bigger questions. And that made me feel more comfortable about the fact that I didn't know what the answer was. Nobody knows what the answer is. It's all about your own personal voyage, your own personal journey, and what you choose to believe in. And it really should be a personal thing. And I started to think more and more about how I felt about God and about Jesus. And it started to dawn on me that I dismissed the whole thing far too easily in the past, and I wanted and found myself wanting to learn more and more about the stories historically, about the Bible, and about Jesus and God. I'm much more open to it now than I think I ever was before. I think I probably dismissed it before. But I think now, having gone through Alpha and talked to people of a like mind, having found some of the answers to the questions that I had. In fact, I'm reading a book at the moment by Bear Grylls called Soul Fuel. who knew that Bear Grylls was a Christian? I certainly never did. And I talked a little bit earlier on about that sort of macho thing of the police. You don't get much more macho than a guy like Bear Grylls. But it's a book that he writes a piece daily for you to read, and there's a part in there that he quotes that really struck a chord with me, and he said that it's the journey that we're on is a very long journey, and will take us beyond the realms of the world that we live in now. But both the destination and the guide are God. And that really sort of struck a chord with me, and I thought, I'm just starting on this journey, and it's a very long journey that we've got to go, but I'm really looking forward to it now. My approach to Jesus now is that I have woken up to the fact that I've got another friend. And I think he's always been there. If I'm honest with you, I've always had that. They talk about having that little person on your shoulder speaking in one ear and the other, and I've always had somebody on my shoulder saying that's not a good thing to do, guiding me. But maybe I just haven't woken up to the fact that it's Jesus or it's God, but I am now. I'm starting to think of Jesus as being a true friend, somebody who's there with you all the time, who you can have conversations with, who will help guide you through life and hopefully guide you on the right path. And that's how I now think of Jesus and faith, and I want him to be there for the rest of my journey. I want my family to be by my side in the same way as I want all my new friends to be by my side. And it's becoming more and more important to me. So I think I've definitely started that voyage of discovery.